The book, that's a kind of an explanation teaser on how we move from a centralized mind, that hamster wheel that we've been talking about, into observing the centralized mind, which is decentralized mind. So anyone, if they wanted to, they immediately start doing that, and you're starting to change yourself. It's there for everyone. It's like their own property.
Welcome back to the Freedom Footprint Show with Knut Svanholm and me, Luke the Pseudofin. And we're here today with Rob Brinded, author of Mind Decentralized, and actually one of our very first guests. Great to see you again, Rob. Welcome back to the Freedom Footprint Show.
Thanks for having me, guys. Looking forward to this.
Yeah. Hi, Rob. Good to see you again. I've got your book right here, Mind Decentralized. We were thinking here before we started the show, though, when are you going to write the follow-up, Penis Decentralized? But
Penis Decentralized. I did hear that right?
Yes.
Yeah. No, I was going to say something about the size of my book. It looks bigger in the dark. So, but the book's
quite small. Is this talking about your book or something else?
I'm talking about my book. The book is a taster, so it's like a first edition. I'll be working on a much more expanded version of it. So it's going to get bigger.
Yes, and you're still talking about the book, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's just to avoid any confusion here.
Sure.
Mind Decentralized is about how your own brain is your biggest enemy, basically, and how to rid yourself of your brain is maybe that's a bit far-fetched, but how to get to know your brain and how to reprogram yourself, right?
Right. The thing at the end that you just said, how to reprogram yourself, is central to my work. It's always been central to my work about getting people to be their own authority. So as Bitcoiners, it's all about self-authority, and also with we're all humans walking around with this software like computers inside of us, and people don't know how, they don't have a manual, and there are different versions of manuals, let's say religions and different things, to try and guide people. But I spent getting on to 3 decades now working with that internal operating system. And then I want to, with my work, is to show people how to be able to access their operating system. They wake up in the morning, they can instantly look and see, how am I feeling, is similar to going onto your computer and looking at the operating system and seeing what's spiking, and then being able to shut it down, programs that are running that are not necessary. So, yeah, coming back to what you said about the brain, the way I look at my internal environment is like the mind is this thing that I can observe, that just throwing up words and chatter. And when I think the way I see it, that affects our brain. So there can be, I just like to say that the mind, when you start to really observe your mind and not get caught in it and just watch it, you'll see that there are similar themes that are constantly being thrown up. And then when you look at those themes, there's a certain pattern to the words that are being used. And so I've been observing that conditioned mind for many years, and it can be broken down to be working like a hamster wheel. Is it okay? I just going into the hamster wheel, or?
Sure. Go ahead.
Yeah. So you said there seems to be something wrong with it. Yes. The problem that humans have is that we create programs, software programs that are developed very early in life, before we're 4 years old, and they work as well as they can do. If you imagine a 4-year-old coding, exceptional coder, but they're 4 years old. So they create these programs that they're trying to get their needs met that weren't met when they were children. And I haven't met anyone whose needs were met. Like, I can talk more about that later. But what happens is we create these pseudo programs that we think get us love, but in fact, they're hamster wheels trying to get us status, make us look valuable. So through caring for others, through supporting, through achieving, through getting gold stars. And the nature of a hamster wheel is the moment the hamster steps on, it starts to spin the opposite direction to the way it wants to go. So they work. And then when you get to a certain age, you start going, shit, I'm not happy. Or like when I worked for Chelsea Football Club, I sort of arrived at the highest level and I got amazing salary and, huge amount of space in the new training ground. I was like, my department was huge. I was in charge of it and I felt completely empty. And so that's when, that was a long time ago, but I started to realize that the emptiness was coming from that hamster wheel that was not getting me all the effort to be acknowledged and recognized and be valuable, wasn't getting me love, connection, and belonging. So, so just bring it back to your question is we all have a mind that's been conditioned through generations of ancestors and traumas and experiences. And we've lost a connection as humans. And you could say, does that go back to when we lost the connection with sound money? But I'd say the connection as with the parents and the disconnection of the family units much further back. And that maybe the only people that have a very strong connection is if you go to a tribe in the jungle in South America that doesn't know anyone else. I think that we have a huge disconnection problem. And we've created these programs that run this software and it's glitchy, seriously glitchy. And so as my job and as an educator and in my book, I'm there to explain it's not complex. We have hamster wheels. If you look, you can see them. And the main thing is that they explain everything about your behavior. And the way to dissolve them or get rid of them is to observe them.
Yeah, I have my own experiences with this, and starting way earlier than when I started meditating or learned about that. And it goes back to when I was in the Merchant Marine Academy. I have one insight from that period of my life was like I was always running to the bus. And sometimes I could see the bus driver in the rear view mirror of the bus, just looking at me, seeing me running. And then when I was 5 meters from the door, he would drive away and just do a little smirky smile and like smug smile and just drive away from me. Yeah, he was an asshole. He was a total asshole.
Yeah.
And I was so pissed and angry and all, worked up as you get about these things, until one day I realized, hang on, I'm never going to run to the bus again. Or to any transport again. So I just promised myself, it doesn't matter if I'm in a hurry or not, I'm not going to run to transportation. I'm just going to stop doing that. So I did. And what happened was that I was on time every morning. I was way better at making it to the bus because I promised myself not to run. And or on some days I just skipped school. That worked too. But I think like knowing your limitations and controlling them is absolutely crucial. I mean, if I look back at a working day, like I can look back at the day and like be angry with myself, but just I've just procrastinated so many hours away and I got nothing done. But maybe I got something done, and when a year has passed, that amounts to quite a lot, because you don't really need to work that many hours per day if like by working you mean just not being productive. It's much better to just be hyper focused when you actually do it, and then relax the rest of the day. It'll be like a lion, sleeping for 20 hours and then go and chase an antelope. Like that's basically the life of a lion. So I think modern society with all the technological advancements and the internet in particular, putting a lot of pressures on us to just, as you say, to achieve and to make these connections and at the end of the day, it's like Jeff Booth says, that all we want is love and belonging. And it takes a while to realize this, that which you can do without you own. Is another example I have is when I got a parking ticket, like at one point in my life, I lived in Malmö, and I got parking tickets because there was one day of the month where they were cleaning the streets and you couldn't park at the street. I always forgot. So I was pissed at these parking tickets because it's a nuisance, of course, and I have to pay money to pay the damn parking ticket. But I realized that by being angry at the parking ticket, I doubled the cost for me. Like, the cost was already there in losing the money. So why would I let the parking ticket hurt me more than just financially? So just pay and be happy. It's the same with taxes. I fucking hate them, but just pay and be happy. Why pay and be angry? Like, then you pay double. Is this something you can relate to?
No, totally. I mean, the last thing you said is self-awareness. You're aware that if you get angry, you're damaging yourself, and there's absolute zero gain. But most people don't have the awareness, or the awareness to look at their own behavior. The running behavior was a behavior, and is crucial for people to understand that when it sounds complex, observing your own behavior, it's the highest form of intelligence, is to be able to observe your own behavior and not comment on it, just observe it. But to be able to, I watch people and they always rush, but they don't realize they're rushing until someone points it out to them, and maybe even then they don't care. They're so caught in their behaviors. But when you start to observe and say, why do I rush? Why am I doing this? You're going to start, and you observe you might be, I'm fearful of being late. Why am I fearful about being late? Well, I'm worried how people will perceive me. And then you start following the thread down, and it starts to dissolve. The program no longer runs. It's just software on the computer. A story that I think is quite cool that happened fairly recently to me is I observed my clients they'd rise and they'd fall. So I always have pretty much the same every month. It would go high and then low. And so I started to observe that, and my thinking, because I wanted newer clients. I wanted more clients, but new clients because I enjoy the challenge of finding out new things. And I started to observe, why do I want more clients? And when I really got down to it in my watching my thoughts about it, there was a safety thing. There was safety in getting more clients. It would make me feel safer because of the money at the end of the month. So I saw that. And I also saw another behavior, and I observed it, and I looked at the thoughts coming up, and I observed them without commenting. There was no action to do any marketing. I observed it. Then I talked to my assistant about it, and I did a session with her on my whiteboard because I wanted her to also be part of this new client thing. She was very scared about reaching out and didn't want to seem selly, like a salesperson. So we worked, and she observed her own behavior, and it took a day, and she was like, oh my God, I feel completely different about this. That month I doubled my revenue, doubled. And it was this, without doing anything, without any marketing, I got 3 or 4 new clients just by observing. Within a few days, I just got new clients. And that's where, in my opinion, there's no separation from the external reality and our internal environment. So we just project out our conditioning onto our reality and pull experiences in. That's my experience. And I see it, and I saw it when I was working in football. The players would get injured when they had turmoil at home, or when there was a stress around their position. They would pull in an experience to get injured. And if you observe it and you ask the right questions, you'll see that always there's a stressor. Just quickly, there was a story. There was a footballer who was the top footballer in the football club I was working. He was the number one. They brought in a new number one. They told the footballer, the goalkeeper, that this guy won't take your place. He came in and he took his place, and the number one became number 2. And he was so angry for a long time. He was really resentful. at one game, the goalkeeper got injured. Number 2 came in. It was his chance. He got injured in that game. I believe it was that game, just from a very simple save. It took him out. The number 3 goalkeeper came in, got injured because wasn't ready. So we pull in injuries or illnesses if, in my opinion, if there's a threat to the deep conditioning, if that makes sense.
Yeah, this ties in so well to the episode we did with Jeff a couple of weeks back, because like the big takeaway that I got from that was that your reality is a reflection of your consciousness back at you. Like,
I love that. Yeah. Jeff Booth is, fortunate to know him. I really do feel fortunate to have met him and know him, to be able to speak to him now and again. I listen to him, Michael Saylor, the most out of, I listen to other, like maybe Krishnamurti, and I read and watch other documentaries, but most of the time I spend watching my own behavior. But Jeff Booth, I gave him a call to ask him about investment for a place to be, my wife's project here in Madeira, self-directed learning for people who like the B symbol. And he was talking, and then he said unmet needs. He said something about unmet needs, and my model of my work was missing that little thing, the unmet needs. And when he said it, I went, oh, and I went over in my brain for a few days, and I said, oh my God, that's it. It's the unmet needs is why the hamster wheel was created in the first place. So, Jeff Booth is an exceptional character, and when I met him here in Madeira with you, Knut, I was sitting near you. In fact, we might have been sitting together, but Jeff turned to me. You were turning to someone else at that cafe in near Maya, and Jeff Booth said, "Yeah, when people realize that the external and the internal, there's no separation, that's when things get interesting, or that's when things will change." And I was like, "Oh shit, this guy really gets it." So, yeah, he's the man.
Absolutely. Yeah. And we'll see him again, and so will you if you come to Madeira between the 1st and the 3rd of March next year for Bítcoin Atlantis. I'll have 3 weeks there to hang out. Looking forward to that a lot. Yeah.
Cool. And there's a lot of other Bitcoiners here now as well.
And the speaker list just keeps on getting more and more amazing. Andre keeps dropping names.
Yeah. It's going to be special. I saw you in Riga, I believe. And I thought Riga was wonderful as a social, I really, this is my favorite Bitcoin event. So I haven't been to too many, but this one's going to be special, music festival and everything that comes with it. So, and you too.
Yeah, it's going to be beautiful. Yeah, it's just beautiful that this thing is playing out. And I see also that more and more shops and bars and cafes and stuff in Madeira are starting to accept Bitcoin.
Yeah. I think, Knut, we always said that bit by bit it was going to grow from the bottom up here. And I'm not really, to be honest, I'm not trying to orange pill anyone at the moment. Now and again, I did the Thai massage chain that they have here. JJ's the owner. And so I pay for my deep tissue massage in Bitcoin, in Sats. And I tip the lady in Sats. So she's getting a little of, I'm like, don't touch this. And she understands the importance. But Charlie,
you're talking about Sats now and not happy endings, I hope.
No happy endings. It's a professional.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Just to keep it straight here.
Yeah. I was having a massage the other day, and an Indian guy came in, and he, I couldn't see him, but I heard his accent, and he was like, he was asking for a massage, and then he kept saying, "Is it just a massage?" And what he wanted was the woman to say, "Well, we can accommodate any, that type of conversation." And she was saying, "Yes, it's a massage. It's a massage." And he was, but and I knew he's trying to say, "Is there any extras, and he realized and said, "I'll cancel." So no, it's a professional place, really good.
All right.
Yeah, so I was just saying, there's Charlie here that's doing the orange pilling, and I can see that as you know, everything starts off, it's difficult to see a change, but then it compounds, and people are going to be more people are talking about it. It's going to do the old compounding, and so more and more people are here know Bitcoin or will be accepting it.
Yeah, I went to the barber shop there close to you, like last time I was in Funchal. That accepted sats. Unfortunately, like with so many other places that accept sats, like the owner had to come by to be able to do it, because it's usually like that happens every now and then, that the owner is orange pilled, but no one else in the staff. So they have.
Yeah. Charlie's getting everyone on BTC Pay or Swiss Pay. So
excellent.
It's the pharmacies here, which are very professional. They take he's orange pilled 4 or 5 pharmacies now, and so they have everything set up with their Swiss Pay, I think it is. But so they're it's getting more. Charlie's doing a great job. The Portuguese guy who's orange pilling here, so it's a good place.
Nice, good to hear.
All right, you might have noticed that we've recently partnered with Amber App. After our episode with Izzy, their CEO and our close friend, we knew we would have to partner with them in some way. If you haven't seen our episode with Izzy, definitely go check it out. You'll see why it's such a great fit. And honestly, they're following the orange glowing light like Izzy always says, and that's exactly what we try to do here at the Freedom Footprint Show. The big news about Amber App is that they're going to be launching their version 2.0. I've seen some of the screenshots and it looks fantastic. They're going to be including a non-custodial on-chain wallet, an anonymous Lightning wallet, a fiat wallet, and finally, it's going to be an exchange, of course. It's going to be just this super app. They're also going to be launching globally. Everyone's going to be able to use it. We're really excited about all that. Stay tuned with us and you'll hear all about it. And for now, check out their website, amber.app, and the episode with Izzy to find out more. Next up, Wasabi Wallet, the privacy by default, open source, non-custodial Bitcoin wallet with CoinJoin built in. It's the easy-to-use, comprehensive, affordable way to make your coins private. And the best part is they've been making huge improvements to the app. They're really focusing on the user experience, adding advanced features for power users. They just keep getting better. You send your coins to your Wasabi wallet and they get combined with loads of other coins using the Wabi-Sabi protocol, so they're private on the other end. Your tracks are covered, so you can work on expanding your freedom footprint without worrying about your privacy. So, check out wasabiwallet.io and download Wasabi today.
Back to the decentralized mind. How does Bitcoin fix this, or does Bitcoin fix minds, and how, in your opinion? I know I have an answer to this.
I know you do. So for me, Bitcoin, you're very good at seeing ahead, and we've talked before. What I've seen is that I work with Bitcoiners who are not so aware of their conditioning. So Bitcoin, if you're very focused on freedom, it means that you don't like enslavement or limitation. And so when I work with someone like that limitation, fear of limitation or being unable or being helpless drives that momentum towards Bitcoin, to finding freedom technology. But that fear of limitation and helplessness will never, that needs to be observed and addressed. Bitcoin, yes, it's almost using human psychology to drive its adoption, because it's going to bring on all the freedom people, and then the more they try and control, the powers that be try and control this disintegrating system, the more that control is put on, the more people don't like being controlled will escape to Bitcoin. So it's just inevitable it plays out. I'm not so, I just know that Bitcoin will do a lot to change society and bring back connection. If we have, if the incentives are broken and you can no longer buy a house and you have to work harder and harder, the family unit is disintegrating. You can't be with your kids if you have to work. So if that's the case, then that system is driving disconnect. So it's driving the trauma and the glitches in the software. So you bring Bitcoin in, it fixes that. So it fixes the disconnection. So I do see that. I can't imagine it, Knut. I mean, it's possible. It's totally possible. But you're good at playing it forward. I just see that if people can if they no longer have to work 2 jobs and the mother can stay at home, which is absolutely important, and the father's there as well. Again, relationships, that's also software and conditioning. The father leaving is conditioned from his parents. If you look at, the parents usually divorced and is conditioned down into the kids. If the parents can be together, that's going to improve society. It's going to completely transform society, and therefore will have an effect on our software. But the software, this is where I'm like thinking, if Jeff Booth is what he's saying, and what I believe is, if the external reality is the same as the internal, if the external reality has a transformation, they will have a transformation on the inside.
Yeah, well, I'd like to add my perspective to yours,
Sure.
if I may.
I'd love to.
I think, I think Bitcoin itself is not the signal; it's just the greatest noise remover ever. Like, it removes all the noise, and that's why it's so good for humans to free up their time and start seeing things for what they really are, including themselves.
Yes, I love that.
So I think that's the way to see it. It's a noise removal tool, and also like everything that comes with lowering your time preference, which is talked about a lot in the space. Because you start prioritizing quality over quantity. When you have perfectly scarce money, you choose to the chances that you will choose to save rather than spend are quite high, because they're going up in value over time, and that makes you. In the end, that makes you crave fewer things.
100%.
And so you get into this more minimalistic, like that in itself, I think is on the same trajectory as same psychological trajectory as trying to learn more about how your own brain works.
I totally agree. The noise reduction thing is, when you observe your conditioning, you're actually reducing the noise. Because it's just noise, and you get caught in the hamster wheel, and you try and control your reality, but based on your conditioning. So you just keep repeating. So anything that removes, like I talk about de-engineering. So you have engineering in the world, but inside is de-engineering. And so Bitcoin, as you said, it reduces noise, which and low time preference comes when we know the truth. Like, you see the truth and everything calms down. So I totally agree. Yeah, nicely put.
How familiar are you with Praxeology and Austrian economics? And have you read any of those books? Oh, that's a beautiful one. That's the best one.
I did. It was just sitting there. Yes. I got that off Nico. I just read that one, and Starship Troopers. I don't know if you know that one.
Oh, yeah.
It's great.
Love
book.
it.
The Praxeology I need to get into.
Yeah, great Praxeology books for Starship Troopers, yeah.
Yeah. Heinlein is Sailor's favorite author, by the way.
I didn't know it.
Yeah, he told us back in Prague. Anyway, where was I going with this? Yeah. The basic thesis of Mises is that the reason you act is because you feel uneasy in some way. And then you imagine a state in the future where you have done something and you choose to do that thing to get into that less uneasy state. So a way to look at this is that all we're doing is replacing our problems with better problems to have. That's what we aim for. That is true for I mean, money solves a lot of problems, of course. It can give us a sense of security and it can give us more stuff, or whatever it is. But what we're really trying to do is to get into a state of less uneasiness, regardless of what we do. That's the goal of every action. So we're trying to replace problems with better problems to have. And some people have only figured out half of that. They haven't figured out that a state of calmness and a state of, knowing yourself and being closer to your close ones is better than just running in the hamster's wheel. They think that they're getting a better problem by buying a new car and a new yacht and whatever, but they're really not.
And they're trying to get their needs met. Yeah,
exactly. But all we're doing is searching for better problems to have. But the thing to remember here is that we can never rid ourselves of every problem, except once, and that is when we die. When we're dead, we don't have any problems anymore. So in that sense, death is heaven. Like, because you remove all the problems, all the uneasiness. This may sound morbid, but really, if you think about it, the state of no problems to have is, before birth, after death. That's when we have no problems whatsoever. And life is just a series of getting better problems to have.
Yeah, life is, we're here to resolve things.
Yeah, untie knots.
Yeah, and the way we see life, it like with the mind through frames, is that it's in duality. So as you see something, it's sunny here, but compared to another country, it's dull. Everything's hot, cold. There's always an opposite. That's how we understand life. If we didn't have opposites, we wouldn't, be able to understand our lives. So, and that the stuff with the hamster wheels I find fascinating is those frames were built very early. And so that causes us to suffer because they're not truthful. They're jammed up one side or the other of this sort of the yin yang shape. And so when you observe that it's a child's program and the child was only trying to do the best that it could, and you understand that with compassion, which is needed to dissolve the program, then you are perfectly balanced between, let's say, gain or loss, or being able or unable. When they're balanced, then there's calmness. And so we're here to balance out our wheels. I think we're kind of saying the same thing. But that causes people to kill themselves. Like, most people are suffering terribly from their minds, from the conditioning that they don't realize is can be seen and dissolved. Or you go and see a therapist. But I'm kind of, you can really only understand yourself when you observe yourself. And Michael Saylor once said in an interview, he was saying, first-hand observation. He's always talking about, if you observe something and look at the problem. So first-hand observation is how we look at nature and the world. You have to look at it yourself, not through other people's beliefs. But when it comes to understanding yourself, it has to be done by yourself with first-hand observation. And that will change. That's the only thing that'll change the world. However, we have Bítcoin, as you said, that's going to be a noise reducer, because at the moment, most people are so spinning and stressed and they have no time or energy and they're too noisy to be able to do this. So it's a perfect, there's something coming that's very, very exciting. But most
Absolutely.
people in the spiritual realm don't get Bítcoin. So that's why I'm writing my book, that is going to be more based in the healing space, and that health, spirituality, let's say, if you want to use that word, the mind, self-development. I'm writing my book for them, and I'm going to drop, I say, by the way, Bitcoin's coming, and that will help with human transformation. People are going to be like, doesn't it boil the oceans? It's funny. There's a lot of spiritual people who are like, oh, technology's bad, but
yeah, I never got that. I think that's in the thought tradition of Rousseau, maybe, that technology is bad, which it's a very, like, technology is just problem solving. Like it's tools. All tools have the same purpose. They're there to save us time or save someone time somewhere. That's the purpose of all tools. And as they get better, we save more time. The problem is the money is broken, so the time saving of the tools are funneled into the so-called elite, which is just a term for the best thieves, or the most efficient thieves, at the expense of everyone else. But we could have that time saving distributed, and that would not lead to less spirituality. The opposite is true. It would free up time for everyone and just make everything more awesomer. And
I totally agree. What I've noticed here, and I don't mean this in a judge, I don't want to be negative. I love Michael Saylor, how constructive he is. I like listening, and Jeff Booth as well. They don't spend their time, with like negating stuff. I just see when we have Bitcoin meetups, the most spiritual guys, the guys who look spiritual, are usually into Ethereum. And because spirituality is not really, I think there's a real pattern there. And what it comes down to is the idealism of, the Ethereum and the Web3 is that we can change the world. And it is very up, like in the heavens. It's very, this spiritual vibe but without the feet firmly on the floor. And what I see is that Bitcoin is sort of got the feet firmly in the floor in maths and engineering, but it's going to transform that, the earth and the heaven. It connects the two because it's going to transform humanity quicker than any spiritual, going to, what's that thing, Burning Man, and, all the tech bros dancing and wearing wolf t-shirts. There's this Bitcoin thing that it looks so unspiritual, if that's a word. It looks so, it burns, but it counterintuitively, it's like a Trojan horse.
Yeah, in many senses of the word. This is one of my more controversial ideas, but I view Bitcoin as financial atheism. And by that, I don't mean like bashing people who are religious or spiritual, but in the sense that it's the only monetary system that does not really require belief in an authority,
right,
or any higher power, because you can verify every single step of it. So I see it I see fiat as the cult, because the number written on a dollar bill or a euro bill, you have to take that at you need belief to think that has value. You need belief in the central banking system and the banking system and whatnot and the government in order for that to function. So that is the cult, and we're the ones leaving the cult. To me, that is even more. That is real spirituality, because spirituality is nothing without a firm grounding in
100%
something real,
right?
Even if consciousness is reality is consciousness reflected back at you, it needs to be real. Otherwise, keep it real, as the hip hoppers say.
When I my red flag clients, the ones that I'm wary of, I call them red flags with my assistant, are when they're very spiritual. They're the ones that are the trickiest, because they're so caught up in beliefs and ideologies that when I had this woman who's super spiritual, like an influencer on Instagram. She booked a session with me, and all my work is facts. So they have to, if there's no beliefs, no one needs to believe what I say. It's either changes or it doesn't. And the whiteboards, when I'm working on the whiteboard, I say anything on here that's not fact, that you don't 100% see inside, we don't put it on the board. And this girl, she was like, yeah, my partner, he's just left me, but I was told that he was my incarnation because I have an old soul, and and it was all of this this belief.
Nonsense is the word you're looking
but
for.
it was suffering. And then I said, what if he doesn't like you? Or I think I said, what if because what I'm trying to do is elicit an emotion. That's my hook. And I said something like, what if he just finds you boring? And the reason why I said boring is because all this stuff that she was giving me was making her special. And that's a hamster wheel. Like, people want to feel special and they don't want to be ignored and a nobody or average. Average for some is kryptonite. So I said, what if he just doesn't find you boring? And the conversation went deadly quiet. And I said, look, we have to be truthful here. Like, would that bother you if he thought you were average? And she said, well, he wouldn't do. Like, she got very defensive. So the defenses came up. So what you were saying is absolutely true. There's no beliefs in my work. And that's why I don't like the term spiritual, because I don't know really what it means. It means understanding self. Well, there's truth. You got to be truthful on the inside. And so, hamster wheels for me, and I've been looking at it and validating that concept, and it works because every client I've worked with said, oh my God, that's my life. And that explains why I behave. And that is why I have this thing. So there's no belief. And I love that, financial atheism. You don't need beliefs. You need facts.
You need to know your shit. Like, that story reminds me so much about, my brother works as the head chef of a restaurant up close to where we grew up, and that he I mean, we talk to one another every day, and he always has stories about the people who eat at the restaurant, and especially stories about people who are picky with things. So some are, intolerant to gluten, intolerant to lactose. Some are vegans, some are lacto-vegans, some are vegetarian. And one even complained about the water being too cold and stuff like that. It's hilarious. The hilarious stories, all of it. And what he has observed is that most of that, if not all of it, is a craving for attention. That's all it is. People want to be special. And this is another interesting fact about that. It's always women. 100% of them, it's women who and I think this is very close to the hamster's wheel thing that you're talking about. This is a way to feel special so that you get a special treatment. You crave the special treatment because that makes you feel appreciated. And I think it's the exact same thing as your Deepak Chopra woman there, with the dream catchers and whatnot. That's exactly what they're doing. They want to feel special.
And you can say that with an ever increasing velocity of this, what am I going to call it? Like, fucked upness of the economy.
Clown world.
Yeah, this spinning wider. You're seeing things getting worse as symptoms of a deeper lack of unable. So autoimmune disorders where the system attacks itself, you're unable to function correctly, is a symptom of internally humans are getting more and more scared and feel more and more helpless and unable. Men, testosterone levels are plummeting. Why? Well, you could say, well, maybe it's estrogens in the water and everything, possibly. And remember, everything is a reflection of the internal. So if men no longer, and it's been programmed in for 50 years, whatever, where like that toxic masculinity and men need to be more feminine, and the women have become more sort of controlling, let's say more masculine, then men feel less and less potent, less and less able. The hamster wheel is conditioned in from childhood. More and more children with single parent family, like my family. So the child's brought up with the feminine as the masculine, the mother in charge. And so the program creates the environment of the body. So there's plummeting testosterone levels. If you're in TRT stocks, you're doing well. So again, you coming back to, I thought you were going to say like Bitcoin will also have an effect. I don't want to get into, there are these people saying, oh, Bitcoin's going to do this and that. But if you really think about it, if it calms down the threat level that's going on in the world, it will reflect back in the body. So the body will calm down, the hormonal systems will calm down, but everyone's on red alert internally. Inflammation, everyone's talking about inflammation. What's that? It's just everyone's running on their hamster wheels and they're exhausted and then they're not in the yin, which is the non-doing. So the Bitcoin is yin. Well, it does everything by doing nothing. So it's going to enable us it'll calm everything down, all the noise, as you said. Super interesting.
Yeah, it's like an anchor, something to anchor something into. I don't know what that something is exactly, but it's sort of an anchor. It's something that doesn't change over time, and that is the promise it makes is to be that way forever, and that is a tricky thing, and we need to fight for that to like it's what I think Reagan has said, that every generation needs to fight for freedom over and over again. Like it's not, freedom isn't free, what the South Park creators said. You have to fight for it every generation. I don't think there's ever going to be an end to that. It's like, because it's the flip side of freedom is always responsibility. You can't have one without the other. And you have to start with yourself, and you have to see that in order to be truly free, it starts from within, not from the outside.
Right. And that's why anytime that a human tries to shape someone, like puts their hand in the hamster wheel, let's say, for instance, I saw on the news this morning something going on in Ireland where an immigrant murdered a girl. I'm not quite, I just picked it up as being, that was the thing. And then,
and there were riots and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Her boyfriend, in his witness statement, as a victim witness statement, he wrote something saying, like, our communities are like, you're sending all these people in and it's breaking down communities. We don't feel safe any longer. So this guy's freedom of speech, and the BBC and the newspapers cut it out. And so what they were doing was they were trying to shape society to be safer. What did they do? Well, everyone's like, hey, and everyone's now looking at exactly what they didn't. It's always the same. And so they create more energy in the thing that they didn't want to have energy. So the hamster wheel's in play. The more you try and control, the more you will get uncontrolled. The more they try and fight Bitcoin, the more it will give Bitcoin life.
Totalitarianism isn't sustainable. Like, I mean, the more you try to control people,
the more it disintegrates.
The closer you get to civil war.
The show is also sponsored by Orange Pill app, the Bitcoin-only social network where you can stack friends who stack sats. You can connect with your favorite Bitcoiners on the app, make local connections, and even connect with Bitcoiners around the world. You can see what's going on in your local area and connect with Bitcoiners around you. I've been to multiple events organized on Orange Pill app, and they brought Bitcoiners together from all over. And now with group chat, it's easier than ever to stay in touch with all of your Bitcoin friends. The best part is that you know it's high signal. There's no spam on Orange Pill app because everyone pays to be there. So download Orange Pill app on Apple or Android, send me or Knut a DM, and start building your local network of Bitcoiners today. Next up, the Bitcoin Way. Their mission is to onboard, educate, and remove barriers to taking self-custody of your Bitcoin. They cover everything from cold wallets to nodes, no KYC Bitcoin purchases, inheritance planning, payments, and more. Whether you're new to Bitcoin or you're an experienced Bitcoiner looking to expand your freedom footprint, or you know someone who this sounds perfect for, the Bitcoin Way has something for you. They have a skilled team, well-versed in the Bitcoin space, and their goal is to make all the complexities of Bitcoin as straightforward as possible for everyone. And the best part is you can get started with a free 30-minute call with their team. Go to thebitcoinway.com/contact for more info. Our newest sponsor is Geyser. They are the portal to the creator economy on Bitcoin. On Geyser, creators can monetize their work through their communities in a social and engaging way, and supporters can send sats to their favorite projects. Geyser has also recently integrated with Zaps and Podcasting 2.0, so every Zap sent to a Geyser address shows up on the Geyser page. We have a Geyser fund ourselves. It's the best way to support our show directly with Bitcoin. So whether you're a creator or a supporter, check out Geyser at geyser.fund today.
And so coming back to the point of like our external reality is a projection of our internal, like a matrix. We can't. I see that. I kind of know that, but I can't get anyone else to believe that. But if that's the case, then the only way, and this is my experience, the only way I can change what I don't like in the world is to work on how I feel about that. So if I look at the Israeli conflict, get super angry. The more I fight and go into the hamster wheel and shout at it, it's disgusting, and I am reinforcing that system. But I take responsibility for the greed or the violence I see is within me too. And then I observe it because I'm getting angry and violent. And I want to, whenever that's why projection's such a visible thing, especially on Twitter. You, as Jeff says, you either energize the new system, decentralized mind, which is observing that centralized mind spinning. You can only change you can't change system from within the system, as Jeff says. So he's there energizing what he wants to see. And that's something I spend, it's not easy, but I'm trying to, when I say stay constructive, is I take responsibility every day for everything that I see outside of me is within me. So when I point a finger, there's always three back.
But you're not alone in this battle, Rob. Like me and Luke, we have tactics calls like almost every day about the show and like what to do with it and like how to reach more people and how to do this and how to do that. But every now and then we need to remind ourselves that we're not really doing this for the main reason we're doing this is because we want to talk to people. We want to listen to what they have to say, and we want to learn something from it. We want to. It's not about reach or money or anything
people.
Like that. I mean, we're still playing that game. We can't not play that game because we're in it. But we can be aware of it. But we don't necessarily have to, play it the way other people play it. Because first and foremost, this is about the conversations we have. And we need to keep that. That's the orange glowing light. Like that's what we need to. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and brush your teeth, people.
But Knut, that brings up, that's a real subtle thing you just said. It's beautiful. When you think I need to reach more people, yeah, I understand it's a business and you want the podcast to be, but then if you're watching your behavior and then you see, I want this to be more, and you just observe that, you'll see more to it, and then that will dissolve, and then your reality changes. So as I wrote on Twitter, marketing is an internal game. That was one I was trying to be like you, Knut. I was trying to write. I was like, shit, that sounds really. I learned. I did I was going to say something stupid. I was on. Jeff Booth posted a photo of a loaf of bread. He's been cooking. I don't know. I saw that on Nostra, and so I thought, I'm going to be clever here and write a joke. And I wrote a pun. Your loaf will continue to rise. And I just sat there and I went, oh, fuck, that's perfection. And then someone wrote underneath, oh my God, the best comment ever written on Nostra. And I'm like waiting there for the validation. And then it's gone. It's like lost in the ether. So, that's my, I was trying to get, trying to be funny, trying to get validation and stuff. So, funny. I thought it was a good joke.
It was like I would have probably made the meatloaf joke somehow, but it's not fully.
I didn't know about your star will continue to rise, and I shouldn't bring it up because it's a bit critical. And Nico showed me he said, "You don't know about the star will continue to rise." And then the guy who wrote the song, but that's also that's human creativity, isn't it? It's so good.
This craving for acknowledgement or whatever you call it, you want the engagement, you want people to notice you on the internet. Like, it's not all negative, is it? Like, there's a positive force there too. I mean, at the end of the day, it's about love and belonging and blah blah blah. But also, like, being witty it's just a brain exercise. That's all it is. Like, putting words together in a funny way. And if people appreciate that, why you should be proud that they appreciate that.
It's a very good point. There's a positive and negative. The negative is if you need to be witty. So
if you do it for the wrong reasons, basically.
But there's the thing. It's subtle. It's wittiness. We all learn to be funny, to kind of fit in and different ways. They always say about the comedians. They used it because, like, Joe Rogan was probably he was quite short. So he was the funny guy. Like, the funny guy at school is usually, he was funny because that's the way he fitted in. And I used humor as well to make people like me. Humor is the greatest thing on the planet. Like, making people laugh and laughing and enjoying yourself is why we're here. It's just enjoying humans. And I love funny people, and I love witty and telling stories. And, you two are funny and tell funny stories and stuff. So I love that. And so there's nothing wrong with that. It's if we are concerned, we're doing it because we want to fit in. So you won't lose your wittiness, but you need to see the reason why you're doing it. So I work with, like, elite fighters. Let's say I work with an elite fighter. One of the things that they'll say, usually the start, is, you won't take away my liking of fighting, because a lot of fighters have a hamster wheel to achieve, and they use fighting, and there's a lot of trauma in their childhood, and they get into fighting and violence. And so what I've found is, in all walks, when you dissolve the compulsive hamster wheel underneath, the skill set's still there. They just enjoy it. It's not a compulsion. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I think with humor in particular, with comedy and humor in particular, you can't really do it without being true to yourself. Like, it's not funny if you're not truthful. That's why leftards can't meme and everything. Like, it's not funny because it's not truthful to themselves. Maybe I shouldn't say leftards, but
with love.
Here we go.
We said with love.
It. Yeah, leftards. Well, leftards should. They're the left isn't right, and there's no right left. So by leftards I mean, everyone who isn't a Bitcoiner at this point, I guess.
The Dave Chappelle, it seems like
I watched him today.
And I love him. And you'll see the best. I hadn't really seen it like that, but the best comedians, they tell the truth. The jokes are the most truthful, are the most, like, when they say something that no one wants to say, but it has to be truthful, and everyone has to see that it's truthful. Otherwise, no one laughs. So. And self-deprecation is a nice way as well. Other English people, I think they self-deprecate. I don't know about the Finns and the Swedes.
Yeah, there's a lot of that there too.
Make jokes about yourself.
The thing is, like, nowadays, Swedish comedy is just tragic, because all I see when I see Swedish comedians is people who are stuck in the mindset of a Swede. Like, they're so formed by the system they grew up in. And they're formed, and there's this layer of political correctness on top of that. So they're trying to do a balancing act, and it's just very telling. It's just depressing because most of them, those who call themselves comedians, they're on in public service media, so they're paid by the state. So they can't really make fun of the state. So they make fun of people who make fun of the state, and it doesn't work.
And there's control there. There's control in their humor, which kills that oxygen.
Yeah, it kills the spark. It's just, and to me, it's just dead at this point. And it's even like mockery because they're forcing people to pay for the public service media, and they're forcing people to pay for everything. And they're making fun of Swedish society, but not in the way that I would appreciate. Like just pointing out how bullshitty it is, but in ways which are still like boxed in these, it's like the blindfolds are still on, and it's not funny at all. The self-deprecation, I mean, there's a lot of that in more, if you go back a couple of decades when Swedish comedians were funny, or maybe it was just I was younger, but the Brits have always had that, and I love John Cleese, for instance, like always done. I think he's as a philosopher as well, a very, very clever man. And Ricky Gervais would be a modern example of really good at that, and really good at. I think there's speaking of him, I think there's a financial aspect to this, because when comedy is your livelihood, you can't really afford to be shadow banned or ousted
unless you've got so much money that you don't give a shit.
Yeah. So Ricky Gervais doesn't have to give a shit. He can tell it like it is because of the financial security. The same with Cleese, like who's in trouble every day now. It seems in Britain for
he's far right,
saying the wrong things.
He's far right, like everyone. You saw Elon. I mean, on this, whatever you think about Elon and what his motive, but his go fuck yourself. I thought that was
it's so funny.
It was so good, and so the audience going, hey, it's like, it was fresh air. It was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah.
You're gonna blackmail me with money, and then he said, people saying and trying to shape, people shaping, doing evil, doing force for good. Disney, we're gonna do good, and then they use blackmail, and which is evil. And the way they're doing it is they're making it look like it's good. There was a debate. It's a great debate. Hitchens, Christopher Hitchens, I believe the not the brother who's still alive, Hitchens, and a fantastic debate. Incredible.
One of my favorites.
I listen to him quite often, and he did a debate where one side was the church is a force for good, and his was it's a force for evil. Right? You've seen that one, and
with Stephen Fry, right?
That's right. Yeah, incredible debate. And what struck me again is this idea that whenever you try and use your mind or your beliefs to construct good, you create the opposite in this reality. And so he was saying how, like, the church is a force for evil, and he won the debate. I mean, it was a very strong position. And so I didn't really care for the religious but his mind was absolutely like a laser beam. And then it was like, again, people using their beliefs to try and shape, they always create the opposite hamster wheel.
Yeah. If you want a good dose of Hitchens, people, you should go and listen to his rants about Henry Kissinger, who recently passed away. Very, entertaining is the wrong word, but insightful. So yeah, and I think there's so much truth to that, Rob, like that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And that's everything. If you try to control other people's behavior, you're inherently evil. Like that's not a good act. Regardless of the intentions of it. The individual freedom, everything has to start and end there, because it's the only way to be fair. Like who gets to decide what a good society looks like? I mean, it's individual, it's subjective. Everything is.
That's why Sylvia's set up and plugging her project. when we look at our schooling system.
How's that going?
So a place to be it'll be a place for children. It's just a space for children to direct their own learning. So there's no coercion. They can come or not. There will be lots of different learning environments and different people. Like Pablo will be there'll be a coding tent, hopefully bringing over a robotics guy even at some point. Learning how to start fires, and not good fires, not bad fires, like, and so it's just going to be a place where kids are allowed to thrive. And the fascinating thing for me, having two kids that are raised this way, is the less input you put into them, the more they expand and flourish. The more I try and say, hey, you should do it like that, they definitely resist and they shut down, and then you're limiting their creative possibility. And it's so counterintuitive, as always. All my family are teachers, by the way. So, my dad comes over, love him to bits, with his wife, and they bought them a science kit and they're playing with it. And he comes in and says, no, look, if you take it like this, and my wife's like, please don't tell them what to do. They will. And if they ask for help, then you give it. But you see what they do, and maybe they do the wrong thing with it, but they're learning how to do it. If you tell them what to do, you're taking away an opportunity for them to learn. It blows my mind. And I'm set up in the conditioned hamster wheel of, you need teachers to teach you, and you have to memorize and all of that. And now I see it as it's not a scam. I don't want to be negative. It's just the way it was before. It served a purpose, but now kids are not able to problem solve. So the core values of the place to be are self-directed, and children, their right to self-determination. And those core values are like imprinted in the soil. And then you can do different things on top, and we put Bítcoin miners in the domes there, let's say, to heat them, and we can do, but the fundamentals are, if the kid's punching another kid, you separate them and explain. If the kid continues to be violent, there has to be rules and responsibility. It's not chaos, but children are treated seriously. So that kind of ties in with the, where does the shaping start of society? Well, it starts real early in school, and it's just getting worse at the moment.
Yeah. The only real school subject is obedience. That's what they're rewarded for.
And some of my clients who are very successful businessmen now, one of them went to prison for a very long time because he started up for school and they told him what to do. He goes, fuck you. You don't tell me what to do. So he became a problem kid because he didn't like being told what to do, forced. And then he got kicked out of school, and he goes, fuck you to society. And they kept on trying to control him until he went, okay, I'm going to do really big crime. Yeah, which is, he realizes it was a mistake, and he went to prison for a very long time. And now we were talking about it. He goes, I just didn't like being told what to do. And I'm not that type of person, So it makes me wonder how many kids, there are certain kids that get crushed. I would say I was one of them. I just melted into and just went along with it, going, what the fuck's going on, and enjoy playing sport. But there are kids who just go, no, and they resist, and they get, they either somehow find a path into self-determination, or they get into the wrong side of the society and they're branded as bad,
I know. I was one of them. And I would say a bit of both is true in my case.
Yeah.
Luke, do you have anything on your mind? Like any questions for Rob that you've been thinking about here throughout the conversations?
Well, I've really enjoyed the walkthrough of your take on all of this well, the background of your book, everything you're working on there, this hamster wheel concept. Maybe I'd actually just ask you to, because we sort of flowed into this. Can you give a really brief couple of minutes of what is the core lesson that your book and everything you're working on is trying to tell people? Just a summation is what I'm getting.
What I see is that we create our reality. There's no separation from the external world in front of you to the internal. The internal is a software, like the mind, let's say. It's all of human conditioning, but we have these cogs, these hamster wheels that, because of my particular childhood or yours or other people's, set up the hamster wheels in a certain order and jam them over to one side that creates your behavior in this reality. So that might be you are world champion fighter and you render everyone helpless and unable. And so you're so incredibly able, and that's how you get love. But you are completely unable in other areas. The wheels always have to be balanced. That's just the nature. It always balances out. So if you think you can control and always be able because you're using your mind, the centralized mind, you're going to get the opposite. So what I see is we have this baseline operating system base layer that creates our reality. Up from that, the emotions filter into our body and get stuffed into our body, shut down, suppression. And those weaken or block the natural electrical energy flows in our body, which the Chinese understood as meridians thousands of years ago, which the top researcher in mitochondrial research in American, Douglas Wallace, I listened to his lecture a few months ago on mitochondrial system and a disease. And at the end, he said 85, and some people disagree with him and think it's higher. 85% of all diseases are caused by dysfunction in the mitochondrial system, not the gene system. Not genetics, but in the mitochondrial system. And then his last side was, oh, and by the way, I'm setting up a clinic in China because I think mitochondrial system are the meridian systems. And I was like, oh, this is what I've always thought. So the science is starting to go, oh shit, these are electrical systems. Isn't that what the Chinese been talking about for a couple of thousands of years? So if you come back to that base layer, it filters up. So that's the soil, and it filters up into the body. The emotions from those create disease via the mitochondrial system dysfunction, or you can call it meridians. And that's traditional Chinese medicine, although they're more based on functioning on the, not so much the mental side. They will pass that over to Taoist principles, which is non-doing, observation. So it filters up, it creates disease. So my point being, disease and mental health problems and terrible life, suffering in life. So my book and my work is here to show how to work on the physical by connecting to your own operating system of ones and zeros. It's electrical, 1 and 0 electrical system, switching them back on. So that's my work. I've spent 20 years working, and I work with people with cancer or, all types of illnesses. It comes back to that. But I'm always trying to go to the base layer and look at what are the programs and the software that are projecting your life out there. And so to summarize, that is all within your control. And I say control, I mean, you're not a slave to the pharmaceutical industry, the medical industry. That's all broken incentives. You can go within, you can understand your conditioning and dissolve it and change yourself, which will change your body. If you have problems in your body, you need to go into the non-physical, into the mind and find out why you do. So that position is the complete opposite to the medical profession that says, sometimes you need to surgery, but disease starts in the non-physical for me.
All right. Yeah, that's a fascinating stuff. And I assume we can read more about this in your current book and the one you have upcoming, right?
Yeah. So the book that Knut has got, that's a kind of an explanation teaser on how we move from a centralized mind, that hamster wheel that we've been talking about, into observing the centralized mind, which is decentralized mind. So anyone, you, Luke, or anyone, if they wanted to, they immediately start doing that, and you're starting to change yourself. It's there for everyone. It's their own. It's like their own property. That's your own property, and you're in charge. Okay, so there's your own authority. And the book that I'm writing, I'll make that into a second edition. I'm going to expand that book. The other book is more for a healing book for the more spiritual or health and fitness market. And so it's really my work where I am, but I'll be bringing probably a mention of Bitcoin into it. Or whenever I do a podcast, I bring up Bitcoin, because I think one helps the other. They're synergistic. Or maybe, Knut, it's something even more special. I don't know. It's like an anchor.
Yeah. The Mind Decentralized, Becoming Masterless is available from bitcoinbook.shop, which is where you'll also find all my books. And Rob, thank you very much for coming on to the show with us. Looking forward to co-writing Liver Decentralized with you in Madeira in March. And see you there. And have a great rest of your life, as we say on this show, because we think rest of the day is too short.
Definitely.
So till we meet again.
Thanks, Knut. Thanks, Luke.
Rob, Knut, jump the gun just slightly. Anywhere else you'd like to redirect our listeners to check out your stuff or find out more about you? Yeah,
I have a website, robbrinded.com. I'm on Twitter quite a lot, and Instagram, YouTube, again, under Rob Brinded.
Very good. We'll include all that information. Yep. And now I will say, Rob, have a great rest of your life. And this has been the Freedom Footprint Show. Thanks for listening.